Thanks for the love, Vic.
He is Jalen Rose.
What up, Dow?
I'm David Jacoby.
And on the cool check-in.
Together,
how you sauce
we are Jalen and Jacoby. What do?
We get the people what they want.
Last night, it was Drew Brees' night. In front of the home fans on Monday Night Football, he passed with this touchdown, 62-yard touchdown. That's the way to do it. He passed Peyton Manning's all-time career passing yards record.
He did
Passing yards is basically the metric, the counting statistic that can match you up with other quarterbacks in their career. But that said, Jalen Rose, why isn't Drew Brees celebrated and appreciated like other great quarterbacks of this generation and of all time?
Well, a couple of reasons. Blindly not necessarily taking to totality situation and record and circumstance and just the quality of your body of work. Initially, people just jump right to how many championship rings does somebody have.
Of course, but let me say something to that is, if you said to me, who's a greater quarterback, Drew Brees or Dan Marino, I wouldn't even think about it. I'd be like, oh, Dan Marino for sure. And not only did he not win Super Bowls, he was losing teams. But continue.
But also, it's the measurables of sometimes how you get it done. And Drew Brees is precise. He's also stoic with his demeanor a lot of times. He just goes about his business. He's not thumping his chest a lot. He's not making crazy comments in the media. And sometimes you don't see that rocket throw you'll see from Dan Marino when he's throwing it to Duper or Clayton that just wows you with his ability and his talent. And so when this conversation does take place, it's going to be like, how many rings does? Oh yeah, Tom Brady has 5. Joe Montana has 4.
That's where it always ends
Terry
up.
Bradshaw has 4.
Really, what I think it is, it's the precision, it is the demeanor, and it's also just the lack of highlights, lack of true wow factor plays. The Brett Favre, how did he do that? He's, if you said who would you rather watch play quarterback? I would choose Brett Favre over Drew Brees. If you said who would you rather play quarterback for your team? I would say Drew Brees over Brett Favre. But I think that's really part of it, is those signature moments, because Tom Brady also plays a death by 1,000 cuts, no flashy deep balls, no crazy runs, but he's had those big moments. And I think Drew Brees has had the same consistent but persistent good quarterbacking, but lack of those big clutch moments.
Also, to further his legacy, he went to a New Orleans team that was called the Aints for a really long time.
Oh, yeah.
So he had to turn around a culture for a football team. So a lot of times, initially, we weren't paying attention. People were still trying to compare what's happening with Eli, what's happening with Phillip Rivers. Okay, which one of these guys is really going to emerge from that class?
Yep.
So his level of excellence and his consistency, you want to start to now divvy out the credit. You're going to give Sean Payton a lot of credit for being a terrific play caller, designing all of the things that you see happening out there on the field. You're going to give talent to the backs. Now he has Ingram, he has Kimura. They're one of the best 1-2 punches in the game. So there's a lot of things that happen that are moving parts that a lot of times we take the pressure, we take the credit solely off Drew Brees that he rightfully deserves. But when you look back at his totality, a Super Bowl champion, they carried the defense that year when they won the Super Bowl. A guy that's also found ways to reinvent himself. When I ask you, name me the 2 best receivers Drew Brees has ever had, who would you say?
It's hard. The whole thing is hard. But another thing is he also has this reputation for being such a great person. And we actually got a little look into that last night because he was mic'd up during the pass that earned him the record.
I love you, bro. I love you, bro. I love you, buddy. Hey, boys. How about that, huh? Yeah. How about that? Hey, I love you guys so much. Hey, you're going to accomplish anything in life you're willing to work for, right? I love you, boys. I love you.
I love you can accomplish anything in the world if you want to work for it. They're I want to watch a movie when we get home.
I want to make some popcorn and raid the refrigerator because we celebrate
That's
tonight.
What I want to
Can
accomplish.
I eat as much candy as I want tonight?
Yeah.
I think he always handles himself with class, And sometimes in a me first generation, a lot of times we look for what's loud. Like, what are they saying on social media?
Of course.
What are they saying in the media? He consistently goes about his work. He's the athlete that's dressed in overalls. It looks like work, so many people miss it. He's not giving you the flashy run and the big time, like, signature season individual for somebody else that he plays with on the outside. Tom Brady had that with Moss. He gave us that year where it was like,
I mean, don't forget
whoa.
Montana and Rice. Like, it's like, and you're like you mentioned earlier, he hasn't really had the support of great wide receivers, but nonetheless, he has the record. But there's one thing about this record.
Joe Horn stands out.
You know I can go negative, right? You're not going to go negative.
Ain't really seen Jimmy Graham since he left the Saints.
I'm going to go negative on this, Jalen Rose. If I break a record, which is literally like the biggest record at my position, and I break it on Monday Night Football, the sport's biggest stage, you gotta give me something better than a laminated piece of paper. Dog, he got a laminated piece of paper. They handed him a laminated piece of paper in 8x10. They just handed it to him. Like, a plaque, a trophy, unveil a statue, light some fireworks. You can't just give me basically what our rundown looks like and be like, here you go. It's ridiculous.
Well, just like I don't look at the rundown, I wouldn't look at that. I agree with you. I think like he would have deserved more than a laminate, but I think you're jumping the gun.
What are you talking about?
It was during a game.
Jumping the gun?
He's been there for a really long time.
Don't give him anything.
And people sleep on the fact that he played 5 years in San Diego, hurt his shoulder, and it was a low percentage chance by some doctor's account that he wasn't going to play again. So I think, to pump your brakes, he's going to get celebrated. He's going to get the vehicle. He's going to get all of the gifts that you feel like and I feel like he deserved. Just going to happen during the football game.
Well, during the football game, during this big moment, it was emotional for Drew Brees as we saw when he was mic'd up.
Can I tell you something was emotional for me real quick? Watching Jordan Reed catch a pass. It's going against him in fantasy. And for all I know,
no one cares about your
if he doesn't catch a ball, I win.
No one cares about your fantasy
Okay, I'm
team.
sorry.
But people care about Drew Brees. You know who else cares about Drew Brees?
Oh.
This fan. Take a look. He's crying. I mean, he's emotional. Look at him. Look at the big man with the tattoos and the beard. Just crazy. He's not just like, it's not one tear like when you're watching a movie. Like, he's really crying. Like, he's into it. Soft move or boss move, getting this emotional over Drew Brees breaking the record.
Boss move.
Okay, explain.
It's a boss move because he's emotionally invested. And a lot of times people forget the term fan is short for fanatic.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know if Drew Brees' performance or his philanthropic endeavors and what he's done for New Orleans has that guy so very fortunate that he gets a chance to watch that guy play quarterback for his team.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Brees. Congratulations to that fan. And come on, NFL, you got to do better than a laminated piece of paper.
They're going to give him some love.
Moving on. You know, Giannis gets talked about a lot as we head into the season. It seems like every year is supposed to be the year where he makes the MVP leap, and it doesn't really happen. Well, Alex Kennedy had a very interesting tweet about Giannis. Here it is. NBA insiders believe Giannis Antetokounmpo will eventually leave Milwaukee. While Giannis may not care about being a small market, it's unlikely that other stars would join him in Milwaukee, and that's the angle other teams may use to sell him on leaving, asking for a trade. Jalen Rose. He's still on contract with the Bucks for 3 more seasons. This is not like a Jimmy Butler situation. But do you see Milwaukee in the next 2 years being able to put a team around him that makes him want to sign an extension?
My distinct answer is I hope so. And there were a couple of things in that tweet that I want to highlight. The word eventually, which is infinite. It could be 1 or 2 seasons. It could be 8 or 9 seasons. The other thing I want to highlight is we got to also start giving the players some responsibility for recruiting people to come run with them. I think that gets lost. Okay. When we were trying to put together the Fab Five, we were at the McDonald's All-American game. And we arranged it so we can have rooms that were joined by a bathroom so that we could try to figure out a way to make it work. And we were recruiting other players to come run with us too. Calvin Rayford, don't go to Kansas, come play with us. Big Dog Robinson, don't go to Purdue. Come play with us. Voshawn Leonard, my high school teammate, don't go to Minnesota. Come play with us.
We always say, even when I asked the question, I was like, can the Bucks put the players around him to make him want to stay?
Correct.
And he put the players around him to make him want to stay. He's not a rookie anymore. Like,
correct. He's at the
established in this
All-Star
league.
games. He got everybody on the text. He's playing in the biggest leagues. He knows the players intimately. You see LeBron James moving pieces around the chessboard.
That doesn't mean Giannis can't do it.
Correct. He can make it happen.
I like how you flip that. Let's move on to news that matters. The Rock Allegiance Festival was in Camden, New Jersey this Saturday night. I missed it. Did you attend?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay. Well, it is an allegiance of rock and roll bands and acts, one of which is new metal, rock rap phenomenon, Limp Bizkit. I did buy a Limp Bizkit album once upon a time and listened to it all the way through. I can't lie. And Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit was on stage. And he was just doing his thing when Shaggy 2 Dope of the Insane Clown Posse tried to drop kick him. It was not a successful drop kick. Fell short. Fell short like an air ball. Jalen Rose, a lot of questions. Number one, how do you feel about the drop kick as a move in general?
This was staged.
I
like the drop kick in general because
Oh!
it takes a lot of courage if you're going to take both of your feet off of the ground during an altercation. But that was staged.
We got bamboozled?
Yeah, that was staged.
You think that was staged?
Yeah, that was staged.
And the thing is, I know you haven't seen this video yet. That was the first. I bet you don't even know the people involved.
Correct.
You just know that was staged.
That was staged. Because number one, I've been to way too many shows. You should try it sometime. Concerts are awesome. When an artist is performing, you can imagine there's so many people that are watching. From security to people that they travel with to other acts to people are part of their entourage, number one. Number two, he had a clear shot to go kick him and run through it if he wanted to. He stopped and airmailed
I don't know.
it.
I mean, I feel like, look at the security guard gets him right away. He hurt himself because he didn't land right.
But look,
and also,
why he
if it
stopped?
was staged, why wouldn't he kick him? Why, if we're going to stage it, I'm going to land the kick. You know what I mean? I'm going to land
So
the
we
kick.
can talk about it like we're doing right now.
If
Just
he
like-
kicked him, we still talk about it.
Just like
if there are Limp Bizkit's in the news, it's going to be on Jalen.
I grew up watching WWF, and I
Okay.
understood that though the physical mechanics of the individuals are real, they're acting for an outcome. And a lot of people think that probably happened in the MMA fight between Khabib and Conor. Like, did they try to do that to hype the next fight?
No, they didn't.
I don't believe they did. But in this case, he could have clearly kicked him. Okay, he could have ran through, he could have kicked him, he could have pushed him.
Maybe he's just
he
not a
could have
great
punched
drop
him,
kicker.
He could have ran him off of the stage. He stopped short.
Well, we have to stop short, but stay tuned because after this, Jalen Rose is going to take us behind the curtain and unravel the mystery of the Phoenix Suns GM being fired this close to the start of the season. That's next. Limp Bizkit Day here on Jalen and Jacoby.
Can you do that again?
Like a chunk.
I forget that you're a white guy sometimes.
I'm so white. I'm so white.
Do that
Never,
again.
ever. That's how I play the bass. Playing the bass, Jalen. Never, ever, ever forget that I'm a white guy. And if you do, I will remind you very quickly with some of my behaviors.